Another restaurant chain tonight has just filed for bankruptcy as the list of restaurants closing grows longer and longer. Why are so many failing? Could it be that we simply have too many?
These restaurants are serving the exact same burgers, the exact same fries, at the exact same prices as McDonald's. Yet their parking lots are ghost towns while McDonald's is packed. What do customers sense about these chains that makes them stay away? Red Lobster survived 56 years. 5 decades of cheddar biscuits, lobster tails, and awkward birthday songs from exhausted servers. Then they killed themselves with shrimp. In May 2024, Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and immediately shut down over 100 locations. Gone. Just like that. But here's the kicker. The company didn't die from changing tastes or a bad economy. They died because people ate too much shrimp. Seriously, the ultimate endless shrimp promotion was supposed to bring customers through the doors. And it did. Boy, did it ever. Problem was, Americans treated it like a competitive sport. $11 million vanished in a single quarter because customers ate way more shrimp than any executive with a spreadsheet predicted. Who approved this disaster? Thai Union, a seafood supplier that actually owned Red Lobster. They pushed the all-you-can-eat deal to move their own shrimp inventory. So basically, the company selling Red Lobster their shrimp convinced them to give it away. That's like your gas station convincing you to hand out free fuel. The restaurants couldn't handle it either. Average check times stretched past 90 minutes. Understaffed kitchens drowned in shrimp refill tickets while customers waited. And waited. And waited some more. At its peak, Red Lobster had 700 locations. Now they're planning to keep just 300 alive. Half the restaurants where families celebrated graduations, anniversaries, and we survived another year of marriage dinners shuttered. The worst part? Many longtime employees found out their stores were closing through news reports. Not from managers, not from corporate, from Twitter. Decades of loyal service. And they learned their jobs disappeared the same way you'd learn about a celebrity divorce. Red Lobster bet everything on endless shrimp and lost. But they're not alone in making catastrophic business decisions. Another chain you definitely recognize just filed bankruptcy with $50 million in debt. TGI Fridays used to be the place. You'd walk in, see a waiter covered in 15 pieces of flair, and know you were about to have a good time. Now, those parking lots look like ghost towns. In November 2024, Fridays filed for bankruptcy, carrying $50 million in debt. Earlier that same year, they'd already closed 86 locations. But here's what really stings. This chain once operated over 600 American restaurants. Today, fewer than 160 remain. That's a 73% collapse in just 15 years. So, what happened to the place that basically invented fun, casual dining? Well, that whole flair culture. The buttons, the suspenders, the forced enthusiasm. It worked in the 80s. Made you feel like you were somewhere special. But somewhere along the way, quirky became cringy. Younger diners saw it as a punchline, not a personality. And the weird part is management never noticed. They kept raising prices like they were running a premium steakhouse. $18 for appetizers, $15 for burgers. Except customers weren't stupid. They could tell these restaurant-quality dishes came straight from a freezer, took a quick spin in the microwave, and landed on their table lukewarm. You're charging Chili's prices for Hot Pocket execution. That's a problem. Makes sense, right? But wait, it gets worse. Since 2014, Fridays cycled through 4 different ownership groups. 4. Each new owner did the same thing. Strip assets, pile on debt, and completely ignore the actual restaurants falling apart. Former franchise owners, they got squeezed from both ends. Corporate demanded expensive renovations, new furniture, updated kitchens, fresh signage. Meanwhile, supply costs kept climbing. Running a profitable Fridays became basically impossible. One franchisee told reporters he was losing money every single month while corporate kept sending renovation bills. That's not a business model. That's a hostage situation. But Friday's problems look manageable compared to what happened a few months ago. I had no idea what a health ring even was until my fiancé got me one, and I have to say, I'm shocked this isn't a widely known and used product. It tracks my stress levels, and what I found out is that some supplements made my stress score spike, while others actually helped bring it down. I adjusted a few things based on that, and honestly, I feel 10 years younger. My wife mainly uses it to track her menstrual cycles, and she is obsessed with her sleep quality score. I noticed they are currently running a limited 69% discount, but I don't know how long it will last. It's currently only $60, and it's clear this one is the best bang for your buck, with other health rings priced around $350 with less functions. They managed to price it this low because they cut out the middleman like Amazon, Walmart, etc., who drive up the price and take a big margin, ending up with the customer paying 3 to 5 times more. If you are on TV, you can check it out yourself by pausing the video and scanning the QR code with your phone camera or clicking the first link in the description of this video. Boston Market. Boston Market once had 1,200 locations. 1,200. Now? 27. That's not a decline. That's extinction with a pulse. Here's the thing about Boston Market. They basically invented fast, casual rotisserie chicken. Back in the 90s, getting a home-cooked meal without actually cooking felt revolutionary. Working moms loved it. Busy dads loved it. Everyone loved that spinning rotisserie behind the counter. Then McDonald's came knocking in 2000. They paid $173 million for Boston Market. The idea? Learn the rotisserie secrets and maybe add chicken to their menu. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. McDonald's sold Boston Market 8 years later for $68 million. That's losing over $100 million on a chicken experiment. Makes my bad stock picks look genius. But the real death blow came from an unexpected enemy, Costco. And every grocery store with a rotisserie section. See, Boston Market's whole pitch was convenience plus quality. You'd stop in, grab a whole chicken with sides, and feed your family without the guilt of pure fast food. Worked great until Costco started selling better rotisserie chickens for $4.99. Same product, less money. You're already at the store anyway. Why would anyone drive to Boston Market? The final years got ugly. In late 2024, employees reported paychecks bouncing. Health insurance canceled without warning. Suppliers like Cisco cut off deliveries entirely because Boston Market stopped paying bills. Some locations literally ran out of rotisserie chicken. A rotisserie chicken restaurant with no chicken. That's like a pool with no water. The owner, Engage Brands, got sued by landlords in dozens of states. Millions in unpaid rent. The whole thing collapsed like a poorly constructed meatloaf. 27 stores remain. 27 out of 1,200. But Boston Market's tragedy looks almost dignified compared to what happened next. Because Denny's is rewriting what always open actually means. Denny's, America's diner. The place where every road trip ends at 2 in the morning with a grand slam and questionable life decisions. But here's the problem. That 2 a.m. grand slam. Most Denny's won't even serve it anymore. The chain famous for literally never closing has quietly abandoned 24-hour service at most locations. That "always open" slogan? It now applies to fewer than half their stores. The lights go off at midnight. The doors lock. And America's Diner tells you to go home. They're shutting down 150 locations through 2025. That's 10% of every Denny's left standing. And the numbers explain why. Same-store sales dropped in late 2024, while costs jumped 6%. Do the math. They're losing money on nearly every plate of eggs they slide across the counter. California's minimum wage increases hit them especially hard. The Grand Slam breakfast now costs over $15 in some locations. $15. I remember when that same meal cost less than a movie ticket. Now it costs more than the movie, the popcorn, and the regret combined. But here's what really keeps Denny's executives up at night. Their average customer is 55 years old. That's not a customer base. That's a retirement community with laminated menus. The chain has tried everything to attract younger diners. New menu items, trendy ingredients, nothing sticks. Meanwhile, franchisees are drowning. Profit margins fell below 3% in 2024. 3%. One slow month, one equipment breakdown, one health inspection surprise, and an owner who invested their retirement savings watches it vanish over a stack of pancakes. The diner that promised to always be there? It's breaking that promise, one darkened parking lot at a time. But at least Denny's still has an identity. Can't say the same for the next chain, which somehow turned neighborhood grill into place nobody actually goes. Applebee's has a problem. Actually, they have about 45 problems. But let's start with the big one. Their parent company Dine Brands watched stock prices crater 45% in 2024. That's not a dip. That's investors running for the exits like the building's on fire. And 35 locations closed in a single quarter. Not a year. A quarter. Franchisees weren't just struggling. They were abandoning ship faster than corporate could find anyone crazy enough to take over. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Applebee's tried something bold. They launched dollar cocktail promotions targeting millennials. Cheap drinks, fun atmosphere, get the young crowd in. Smart, right? Well, it backfired spectacularly. Those cheap cocktails attracted rowdy bar crowds. Their core customers, older folks who wanted a quiet dinner, stopped showing up. They basically traded reliable regulars for people who ordered $1 margaritas and split an appetizer. My uncle used to take his whole family to Applebee's every Friday. Now he says it feels like a sports bar that accidentally serves food. But the real killer? Most dishes arrive pre-made from central kitchens. They get microwaved on site. That "eaten good in the neighborhood" slogan hits different when your ribeye spent yesterday in a plastic bag. Ticket times stretched to 45 minutes because skeleton crews can't handle full dining rooms. Customers remember when service was faster. They remember when the food tasted fresher. They remember when it felt worth the trip. And delivery apps? Those are bleeding them dry. DoorDash and Uber Eats take 30% of every order. Applebee's literally loses money on delivery sales, but they need the volume to keep locations open. So they're trapped, losing money to stay relevant, pushing away loyal customers to chase new ones, microwaving their way through an identity crisis. Think that's rough? Wait until you see what happened to the chain famous for being snarky on Twitter. Wendy's has the sassiest Twitter account in fast food history. Their social media team roasts competitors daily. Millions of followers hang on every tweet. None of that translates to people actually buying burgers. Domestic same-store sales grew just 0.4% in late 2024. Sounds okay until you realize menu prices jumped 8%. Do the math. They're selling fewer burgers, but charging more for them. That's not growth. That's a slow bleed disguised as stability. Then came the dynamic pricing disaster. Wendy's announced plans to raise burger prices during lunch rush, like surge pricing for your Baconator. The internet exploded. Customers revolted before the program even launched. Corporate backpedaled so fast they probably pulled a muscle. Here's what hurts, though. Dave Thomas built Wendy's on one promise: fresh beef, never frozen. Revolutionary in 1969. Now, Five Guys does it, Smashburger does it. Every trendy burger joint does it better with fancier toppings and Instagram-worthy presentations. The breakfast launch tells you everything. $80 million in marketing. $80 million. And it worked. Sort of. People bought breakfast sandwiches, but those same people stopped coming for lunch. They didn't add customers. They just shifted when existing customers showed up. Dave Thomas's daughter publicly criticized modern management for abandoning her father's quality standards. When the founder's own family calls you out, that stings worse than any Twitter roast. Drive-through times now average 6 minutes and 14 seconds. McDonald's clocks in nearly a minute faster. Doesn't sound like much until you're late for work staring at brake lights. They closed the original flagship Columbus location back in 2007. The birthplace of Wendy's. Gone. Sometimes symbolism writes itself. Viral tweets don't pay the bills. Clever comebacks don't fix slow service. And a sassy brand voice means nothing when customers drive past you to somewhere faster. Speaking of speed problems, Pizza Hut forgot something even more basic. Pizza Hut used to be a destination. You'd pile into the car, sit in a booth under those red Tiffany-style lamps, and wait for a server to bring out a pan pizza on a metal stand. It felt like an event. Now, good luck finding one of those restaurants. Pizza Hut closed over 500 locations between 2019 and 2024. Those iconic red roof buildings? Demolished, converted to other businesses, or just sitting empty with faded signs. I drove past one last month that's now a dental office. Progress, I guess. But here's where it gets really ugly. Their largest franchisee, NPC International, filed bankruptcy in 2020, owing $1 billion. $1 billion. That was the biggest restaurant bankruptcy in American history at the time. When your biggest partner collapses that spectacularly, something's fundamentally broken. And the craziest part? Pizza Hut was America's largest pizza chain for 40 straight years. 4 decades of dominance. Then Domino's came along, invested heavily in delivery apps and tracking technology, and Pizza Hut just watched. By 2018, Domino's had passed them. The king got dethroned because they refused to adapt. Remember the Book It reading program? Still exists, technically. But it reaches 75% fewer kids than it did in the 90s. Even their goodwill is shrinking. Innovation dried up too. Stuffed crust launched in 1995. Nearly 30 years later, they still haven't created another hit product. That's like a musician releasing one good album and coasting until retirement. Former employees paint an even grimmer picture. Stores that once ran with 8 workers during dinner rush now operate with 3. Same volume, fewer hands. Makes sense why delivery takes forever, right? The pizza wars are brutal. And speaking of brutal competition, there's another sandwich chain that went from being everywhere to fighting for survival. Subway used to be everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Gas stations, Walmart, hospitals, college dorms. You couldn't walk 3 blocks without seeing that yellow and green logo. At their peak, 27,000 American locations, more than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. Now they're below 20,000. That's 5,000 stores vanishing in 8 years. What happened? Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. Jared Fogle. When your spokesperson for 15 years goes to prison for horrific crimes, it doesn't just hurt your image, it destroys it. Same-store sales took 7 years to recover from that disaster. But here's what really killed them. The $5 footlong. Brilliant marketing, right? Catchy jingle, simple deal, customers loved it. Problem is, they loved it too much. An entire generation got trained to never pay full price for a Subway sandwich. Why would you? Just wait a week for the next promotion. And those promotions? Franchisees claim corporate forced them to sell sandwiches below cost. Not break even. Below cost. They were literally losing money on every discounted sub, while headquarters collected royalty checks regardless. Makes sense why owners filed a class action lawsuit. Then there's the quality problem. Jersey Mike's showed up. Firehouse Subs showed up. Jimmy John's showed up. Suddenly, customers had options that didn't taste like they were assembled by someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Quality perception surveys now rank Subway dead last among major sandwich chains. Dead. Last. The company sold to private equity firm Rourke Capital in 2023 for $9.6 billion. Sounds impressive until you learn analysts valued them at over $20 billion just 5 years earlier. They lost half their value faster than that. Lettuce loses its crunch under heat lamps. Speaking of chains that trained customers to expect deals they couldn't afford to keep offering,